Hey, I believe we are live, Mr. Wamble.
Hey, hello. Good evening. It is Tuesday. Are you ready to talk?
I believe I am. Yeah, got a lot to talk about, lot to cover, Mr. Wamble.
Okay, all right.
Here we go. Yay!
Yay! All right. Good evening. It is Tuesday. Interludes Extra talk on Tuesday with Val the Voice Johnson, and Val's gonna do the intro because she likes to do it. Go right.
Interlude. Interludes is streaming every Tuesday on our YouTube channel, our Facebook private group fan base, and LinkedIn under Pure Lighthouse Media. And now we're available on Pod TV Roku channel. And also, if you'd like to become a sponsor for the platform, book time with us at linktr.ee/ Pure Light Media. Never miss an episode as we ask Kevin, Mr. Springer, to put it in the chat. And then, of course, we celebrate 100 episodes of fun. That's the audio stuff. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to say hello to folks that's in the chat. I see the Bud is here. Do you see the Bud is here?
I do. I
Oh
remember when he and Olivia. Yeah, I remember them.
my God.
Who is it? It's just
It's
Bud
just Bud. And then there's Bruce, Bud and Bruce.
and Bruce. Bruce.
What's
Bruce.
up, Bruce?
Bruce.
We
Bruce.
appreciate
Bruce.
you.
What's up? Right.
Yeah, so I think the best way to start is to talk about what was done over the weekend. You understand the fun stuff that we did over the weekend,
I
Mr.
do.
Wamble?
I do. The fun stuff that was done over the weekend. Yeah. All right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Well, let's see. Let me bring it on up here. So, what happened over the weekend? Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. He's like 100 episodes, hooray! At the Chicago Theater here in Chicago, we saw this guy. You know who that guy is?
I do. I do. That is it's Pookie. It's Pookie. I recognize Pookie anywhere. He's doing better now. He says he's
Yes,
doing
yes.
better than he used to. He's out that stuff, you know. That smack, right? He was doing that smack, or was it crack?
I
No, it
don't
wasn't
know what
smack. It
I
wasn't
don't
smack. It was a slap. Yeah.
I yeah,
Well,
I don't I don't exactly know what he was doing. My thing is that I was just happy that when Sandy talked us to say, let's book these tickets, and this was back in
Sandy,
April. Sandy.
Sandy, hi Sandy.
Hey, what's
Sandy's
up,
out there
girl?
somewhere. She'll see this eventually, I'm sure. Yeah.
But she's the one that convinced us to go see Chris because
Yeah.
what we were hearing right after the incident, he was not really talking about it on stage because he had a whole set prepared because
Yeah. Yeah, he had a whole set paid, and then he had a whole five finger palm revelation that he probably needed to switch his setup a little bit, which he did.
Mhm.
Which he did. He spoke on a lot of things. It was a lot of insight. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bruce. You made Michael laugh. That's
So
hilarious.
people been acting like him, and lately, like, yeah,
He's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, look like yeah. See, that's the difference. See, Pookie was on that stuff, and Ye
Mhm.
needs. Well, Pookie was on that stuff. Right now was his problem, but Ye needs to
Right.
get on that stuff. Ye is off the stuff. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We
that's the
need to get
problem.
Ye back on his stuff.
Yeah,
Prescribed by a doctor in tandem with therapy. That would
yeah,
be awesome.
I don't. I'm gonna mention it, but I just want to blow right past it. Maybe we can you can delve into it deeper, possibly on
I
hashtag
did.
Wamble
I
Wednesday.
did. I
You
didn't
did,
have
but you're gonna have to do it again because Mr. Springer sent me a article about the Floyd family suing Ye for
I
saying
saw
some
that. Yeah.
craziness against George Floyd. So I'm thinking, can he stay out of the news? I need him to get on his meds
I
today.
mean, look, he always told you, like, he always told you that he was a publicity machine, which he is. He doesn't, he gets the most publicity for no publicity.
No.
Like
It,
our former president. They have that in common. More and more they have more in common, don't they? From that to also trying to buy and own a social media platform.
mhm.
Our former president owns one that I'm told is absolutely terrible. Not just because of the content, but it just doesn't work very well.
Exactly.
And now the aforementioned former resident of Chicago, who was born in Atlanta. Please, let's always get that. He wasn't born in Chicago; he was born in Atlanta. So that's the ATL's problem. Another issue in Georgia.
Right.
So
So
he's trying to buy Parler, which is a conservative social media platform,
who
and
is
then
this?
Musk is trying to buy Twitter.
Who
Val.
okay. That's
I
so
mean,
this is
this venue that we have, this is gonna be the only safe space pretty soon.
I know, but
Everything else
get
is gonna be owned by crazy people.
yes,
Uh,
but getting back to the sane person in the room. What did you think of
woo!
the overall show? Thank you so much for throwing that up there. And what's up, Wise? And what's up, Tracy? How you guys doing? But yes, so he performed at the
Christopher
Chicago
Rock.
Theater over the weekend. What did you think of the show, Michael?
The show was excellent. I mean, it
Mhm.
was amazing, and we saw day 4 of 4. So,
Mhm.
what I thought was amazing is I talked to people after the show who weren't there, and is that there was hardly any mention of the fact that he had to have been in town all week, Val. I mean,
I
I
know.
doubt that. I mean, I know he's rich enough to just fly in every day, but I doubt anybody actually does that. There was like pretty much nary a mention of him being here, was there?
Well, Tracy, according to the chat, she says they announced him being here today,
Oh, well, he's
um,
gone. I
but
mean,
he's gone.
he's not here today. I mean, unless he's just hanging out in Chicago for like, another week. Why wouldn't you? It's a beautiful city.
Mhm.
Despite what you hear on the news outside of Illinois, or if people are running for governor, despite what they say, there's no
Yeah.
purge here. There's not a purge coming. But I don't. That was weird. I mean, even when what's the girl from the Parkers, the comedian from the Parkers? What's her name?
Monique?
When Monique was here, I heard all about Monique being here.
Well, I
When we were here, and we other comedians I've heard when they've been in town, but Chris, it
well
was like,
well
shh.
well,
I'm
let me
sorry.
let's do this. So if you notice the pictures that I showed for Chris, these are pictures that are from previous
Oh,
performances
she's gonna talk about her phone getting locked
or
up. Right.
stage.
Here we
Yes,
go.
yes. So the
Val's,
phone,
Val's gonna talk about her phone getting locked up.
I was a little nervous to see how they were gonna handle the thing, but they had us put it in a pouch, lock up the pouch, and we put it in and put it in our bags. And I think wasn't it that one person, Michael, that got caught and got kicked out of the theater immediately? I saw that.
I did not see that. Did somebody get kicked out?
Somebody got kicked out. Me and Sandy saw that. We
Well, you
were
think it was
cracking up.
TMZ?
I don't know,
No,
but
I
they
was in line too. I was probably in line
you
for the second time because I went and I got in the line to get beverages, and then I brought the beverage back, and where did the beverage go?
oh
Right
the
onto the floor.
I
Right
just
onto the floor.
yeah.
But
So my
but that's
thing.
somebody here did that, so we
Okay.
didn't commit
Yeah.
that
Oh,
faux pas, but it
oh my
happened.
gosh, the shade of it all. But what I am gonna say,
I said, "Look,
what
I
I
was
am gonna say,
in line. I heard Chris. You saw him come out. So tell us, what did
Mhm.
it look like? How did he come out?
Well, this
What
was
crowd do?
wonderful. We were seeing just before the show a lot of entrances of very famous and well-established. I like to call them the goats of comedy. So you had
Yeah,
as Moms
yeah.
Mabley, you had Richard Pryor, Flip Wilson, Eddie
Nice.
Murphy. It
Right.
was a it
George
was a myriad.
Carlin, Robin Williams. I
Robin
want to make sure
Williams.
we name the white people too. Yeah, it wasn't just black comedians, okay? Right. Lenny Bruce. There was Chris
Mhm.
was all
Yeah,
comedians.
and
All
he had
comedians
actually
matter.
Chris had a white comedian open for him. I
All
liked the song.
comedians matter.
All comedians matter, exactly.
That's
So
right.
I was really he was very engaging and didn't let anyone heckle him. He was heckling the audience. So that
Woo,
I
and
guess.
filming it. So I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that's gonna either be what, the intro or at least the credits for the Netflix special. Yeah, Chris told
Whatever.
us he's filming a special. So what we
Yeah,
saw eventually, you guys, I guess, will get to
we'll
see on
see it.
Netflix if you haven't been able to catch the Ego Death tour.
Yes.
That's the name of the tour, Ego Death.
Mhm.
So I guess
Mhm.
after what happened, on the stage there in front of the whole world, I guess his ego died. So, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, Chris Rock was quite candid. He talked about a lot of things, family. He talked about some issues going on in the world. He explained our last three presidents, why they happened, and who was, to credit or blame for them. I'll
And
let him do that. You can see the special.
well,
Yeah.
what I will say is, and this is I did a post earlier today, just kind of summarizing what I thought
Uh-huh.
of the performance. Chris is a brilliant storyteller. I visually saw
Absolutely.
everything that he was talking about and how he introduced what everyone had bought a ticket for to see how he was going to address the slap. He mentioned not being a victim, but he did a whole backstory of that. And
Yeah.
then he went into it. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
thinking,
And we'll
wow,
let you see some of that. Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, we don't want to give too much
we don't want to give too much away,
tea,
but
but it was very good, very effective, quite
very.
empowering. I think it
Mhm,
brought like the whole of the audience, everybody was certainly who came there was likely on his side, and that was strengthened. He
mhm.
differentiated himself without being too specific to some other
Right.
very well known popular comedians on Netflix in terms of his views about all different people, of different, orientations and gender fluidity. He was open to all that, made some jokes about it in a very positive, good nature,
Very much so.
not ever to
Mhm.
be canceled on what he was talking about. I don't think, not in that area. So, I mean, it was a really interesting take. Val, I thought that, and I've seen his shows over the years, like
Mhm,
Bigger and Blacker, and like, some of the other, like, Chris Bring the Pain, right?
mhm.
You've seen these Chris Rock shows. He seemed a lot more mature. I think
Very
you're a mature
relaxed.
artist up there, you know?
Very relaxed, very comfortable in his skin. So I believe the
Yeah.
Ego Deaf Tour has approximately about 10 or 15 more cities, and I think he'll be resting the mic just before the holiday. But this will definitely be he has the deal with Netflix. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and and
Yeah.
and I and I say this for those of you who saw Chris Rock most recently on Netflix, he had a special on there which I thought was trash. I mean, I can say that now. He had a special on there was so bad that he had it remixed. Did you
Mhm.
remember that? Like
I
he
saw
went
that, I
back and
saw
like
that.
added stuff. That's because
Yeah.
it was trash, and
Yeah,
and, and
but
that was it was unusual for him to come out that bad. But that
no.
is not the person we saw. The person that we saw was at the top of his game.
Right,
Chris is there. He is
right.
back, I guess, if he ever
Yeah,
went anywhere. I mean,
that's
this is
it.
the Chris Rock on the Fargo level. This is an artist at work with a microphone, and it was
Right.
awesome.
So we really enjoyed ourselves there, but I wanted to jump right to the next thing that we were able to see.
Transition by
I had to
Val
jump. I had
Boys.
to do a jump.
Transition. Speaking of things set in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
The movie that we got to see this past week, which is going to open nationwide, I believe on the 28th. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's the
Um,
28th. You're
right.
correct. Yeah.
So it's not open. It hasn't opened nationwide, but we live in a select city, so we got to see a screening of Till, the movie Till, and right there in that picture, right there, that was the director. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you can go back, but that was the director, and she was working with her actors. This is a really extraordinary movie. It's very simple. It's not flashy. It tells the story and it does so in a way I can say I think between both of us, we know the Till story, not just from classes or history books. We know it because at times we've driven past these places. They are part of Chicago. If you know the South Side, you know some of the places that end up in the movie because they end up in the story of Till.
Mm-hmm.
So I still learned some things from this movie. There were things I didn't know that I learned from this movie. And
Right.
this movie was able to kind of illuminate that story and give it, I think, dignity and grace. And it certainly is worth watching. What do you think, Val?
So, so this is where we're at. Daniel Deadwire, Jalen
Here's the
Hall.
picture of the little boy. Oh
I
my
was trying to
goodness.
figure out where he's from. All American. He plays the younger son. He plays the younger brother of the main character on
Shout
All
out to All
American.
American. Shout out to
Shout
all
out to
Frankie.
All American. Frankie Falson, who's been acting for decades. Haley Bennett.
He's on. Yeah. Frankie. Yeah.
Uh, Sean Patrick Thomas. We'll get to him a little bit later, and then of course Whoopi
First
Goldberg,
hitter.
who is one of the producers. Right here, the picture is of the real Mabley Till Mobley and Emmett Till. There
Oh.
was some. I know you wanted the
Now,
Jet
now I want to
magazine.
call him Bo. I mean,
You're
we
gonna
should
call him
call
Bo
him
now? Yeah,
Bo.
I didn't know
'Cause
that.
I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't. I mean, some of these things, you know. Oh, and there are the pictures, and they match these pictures in this film so
Mm-hmm.
beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
As I was telling Val, time that she had to walk away. I talked about when I did it with the Chris Rock show when Val went out to get her. What was that? The or foods you ordered that never
Yeah,
came.
I
Uh,
ordered some fries or
that
something.
never
Yeah.
came. So as we were in there, this woman just knocks at the door, and y'all, this has nothing to do with the plot or story of the movie. But this woman knocks on the door, and the character answers it. And I swear to God, I looked at that woman and Val, she looked just like my grandmother. And as I was watching
Wow.
this, it just like the realness of this, the fact that this was a historical drama set in the city, born and raised here. My grandparents were alive during that time. They would have been those ages. That this is real. I mean, sometimes we think about history and we get so far removed from it. But, I mean, this is real and current. Sadly,
Mm-hmm.
current.
Very current, and I think some people are going. I don't want to see this story
Yeah.
again. But my thing is that because things like a George Floyd, things like these other our other brothers and sisters that are being taken out with
Mm-hmm.
just
Impunity
injustice and hatred,
and it with impunity, just done with like
just
no worry about the consequence.
I think we need to be reminded. In fact, I know we need to be reminded so it doesn't happen again. And I think most importantly, the anti-lynching law was just passed. When was
Yeah,
that
well,
passed, Michael?
do you want to ask? Maybe we could ask that in the chat.
Yeah.
So toward the end of the movie, it's mentioned that one of the things that the mom of Emmett Till made her life's work was to try to get legislation passed that would result in an anti-lynching law in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. That law is now the law of the land.
Mm-hmm.
It's law in the United States. There's an anti-lynching law. When did it pass? In what year did it pass?
And Kevin, could you ask the chat When do you think the anti-lynching law passed? What year? Because it's been on the books for since 1955, 1956.
Well, we know that the Emmett Till case has been, is 70 years ago,
Okay.
roughly 70 years ago. So
Mhm.
so here's the thing. I mean, watching that movie, I talked to somebody after the movie and I told them I saw it and kind of went into it, and they told me why they didn't want to see it.
Okay. What did
And
they say?
that was kind of interesting concept because they said they didn't want to go through that kind of trauma. Things that are traumatic
Mm-hmm.
like that are emotional. It kind of gets to you. And I mentioned what one of the commercials for Till. I don't know what market you all are in. One of the great commercials has the director, and she is speaking right to the camera, and she tells you up front that there are no scenes and no images of black people being brutalized in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know the case of Emmett Till, you know what happened to him, you know there was an open casket, you know that's a main reason that the mom wanted the world to see what happened to her child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how could you make a movie about this without showing it? Why would you want to make a movie about this without showing it?
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason. And if you don't know, that reason is trauma porn. There is
Mm-hmm.
this concept of trauma porn that is out there. What does that mean? That means that people are watching these movies, and worse, it feels like people are making more and more movies that show black people brutalized. Now, they may be in the name of like a great script or a wonderful historical event or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the end result is that there's more film of black people being brutalized in horrific ways. There's only so much that any person can take of that. It starts to get with your psyche. It starts to mess you up, no matter who you are. You don't even have to be African American to have problems with seeing people brutalized in that way. So, even though this movie is about what happened, you don't have to see that part of it.
You
And she
don't.
doesn't show that part of it. And it's still quite effective. It's still a great movie. Oh, Jay Wise is got you. He got you.
Okay, so here it is. So the question is asked. The question is asked. What do you think? Thank you so much for putting that in there. Now Carla says not soon enough. She probably
Yeah,
meant to put the T in there.
yeah,
Not
I know.
soon enough, right?
Yeah.
And then
What's part of the tea?
we got the Bud close.
Yeah,
That was very
wow.
close. I will thank you so much, Bud, for letting us know. But right, and
Yeah, that's yeah,
Tracy
pass.
said she couldn't really handle it.
No, no. I'd be interested if she saw it. Did you get to see it, or just the idea of going to see it? Because I know early on, Val, we had I don't know if I want. I mean, I'm gonna reveal it now, but as we talked about it, I know that you weren't, super excited to go see a movie called Till. It's like,
No, I
really,
wasn't.
you want to see this? Like,
I know.
yeah,
So what?
I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah. And so who had it? Who had it correct? Who had the answer
Yeah,
correct?
the year is the most important part. The Bud
Mm-hmm.
had the year, and then it was signed, right? It was signed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
So
Wise.
yeah, we're in October. So that's April, May, June, July, August, September. So that's scarcely 7 months ago, 6 months ago. So this woman devoted her life to this, and
Mm-hmm.
how did this country respond? Took nearly 70 years for this thing to happen. In fact, she didn't even get to see it in her lifetime, did she? They had to have family there at the signing. That was only this year. How could that be? How could it be? We won't go too far into this because I don't like to give this person any airtime or exposure. But a certain
Mm-hmm.
senator from Kentucky wanted to debate in the Senate the definition of lynching to the singular at that time African American senator,
Oh my gosh.
African who's Democratic African American senator, and this Republican senator from Kentucky who just happens to be white wanted to argue over the definition of lynching and whether or not the federal government should have a role in a law like that.
And this is the thing that's troubling me the most. We we need the education on this because it keeps happening, and in a different way, sometimes not as brutal or not as, I want to say, overt. I think that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But here's, I will say this: Tracy says she's going to trust what we said about the film Till, and she's going to watch, because I understand it could be very traumatic for anyone.
I didn't say you're not gonna cry. You'll cry.
Of
You're just not gonna
course.
see this
Hmm.
young boy be brutalized. You won't see it in that way. Okay, they do spare you that, but I mean, they don't rewrite history, so we do know what happens.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, and speaking of rewriting history, some states aren't they, Val? Trying to rewrite history.
Right. And some people are not even trying to teach on that part of history, of American history, because I feel they might think, oh, it's coloring people in a different, in the wrong light, or, and it's like, no,
Oh, don't
this is
color
something.
anybody any color because that could be divisive.
No, 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 no. W- um, all races, anyone in this country needs to learn about what happened. And as the documentary earlier this year, they had Women of the Movement that was on ABC, and there was a documentary that paired with that called Let Them See, and that was literally kind of in the voice of Mabley Till Mobley, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe Regina King was kind of the voice of Maybe, and I was really excited to see that because it literally just kind of broke down and showed pictures from that time frame, and how she literally became an activist. She was forced into being an activist, just like every mother who has lost their child or lost someone to violence due to racial,
Or
social
any kind of
injustice.
violence, any kind of
Mhm.
violence, any kind of violence. I mean, it extended out. I mean, just recently we saw these parents who some of us had forgotten about from Sandy Hook. So we have the luxury, in a way. Uh, I think that is a good analogy. It just stumbled in
Mhm.
my head, but I think it's a really good one because as someone who is not directly connected with Sandy Hook, there are days that I can wake up and not think about it and go about my life and it never touches me. And I think the
Mhm.
same way that many Caucasian Americans can at times, if they want to, wake up and go about the rest of their day and not think about racism and not think about people looking at them and judging them, because of the color that their skin. They have that luxury at times. They have the ability to kind of function in the world and not wonder, when they hear woo woo woo, is that coming for them? You know, that's a luxury. And the Sandy Hook families, those parents, they don't have that luxury. They wake
Yes.
up every day thinking about the children that they lost, how old they would be today, and just have that, affect their lives. Just the same way that you and I, at some point, every day, probably, at some point, whether we're thinking about it consciously or not, are reminded that, oh, this world sees us as African American. That's different. Oh, I gotta wonder, are they looking at me this way because they like me? Or are they wondering what I'm gonna do or what I'm gonna say or how I'm gonna behave? And some folks don't have to deal with that. But
Right. So we wanted.
committed herself to the work. She committed herself to the work.
Mhm.
And we see her in that role. We see this dynamic woman just
Mhm.
come into her own. It is
Mhm.
an amazing movie. And thank you, Whoopi Goldberg, for having some role in making sure that this thing comes out. Orion Pictures, Val, my
Yeah,
diva here, you notice that who greenlit that movie, right? The
that was
president of
who.
Orion Films, the newly relaunched Orion Pictures, is an
Oh,
African
who's that?
American woman, and she greenlit that movie.
That's great. So, guys, Till is available. It's playing in selected theaters right now, but it opens nationwide on October 28th. Before we bring on Coach Tony, I got to mention this. I don't know if you're watching, but
I'm
there's a.
watching because I was almost late being here. That I blame you, Val, because I was watching this woman and I can't decide if I like her or I don't like her. I'm still undecided.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
Olivia Pope Jr., huh?
well,
Wow.
yeah, and Michael, help me out with the actress's name.
No, I can't. I
You
can't pronounce
can't?
that. I don't know. It's a vowel and a bunch of other letters on it, but you'll recognize her. She made her debut in at least for all intents and purposes. She was on The Young and Restless, so you might recognize her beautiful face from there, or from a
Mhm.
movie by Val's favorite filmmaker, Ava DuVernay.
Ava DuVernay, right?
Middle of nowhere, a quite underrated movie. So you may recognize her from there. But here's our second hit of Sean. There he is. See him? Right. He's in both movies. My guy. He was
Yeah,
in Till.
no.
He plays a really important role in the movie Till, and he's also the subject of a murder investigation in Reasonable Doubt. And there's Val's guy, Michael
Oh
Ealy.
yeah, that would be Mr. Ely.
Gratuitous
So
Michael Ealy shot there just for no apparent reason. He is in it. Reasonable Doubt, y'all. I know y'all hip hop heads that listen like Reasonable Doubt. I know that. Yeah, the title of this show and pretty much every episode is named after a Jay-Z song. And they do have
it
the license.
is?
Yeah, I know Val didn't know that. That's why I had to drop it on y'all. Yeah, so Reasonable Doubt is Jay-Z. First episode is Can't Knock the Hustle. And then I think the third one I just saw was 99 Problems. So each title goes to a Jay-Z song. They do have the music too. And my girl is a lawyer, the lead character, but
Jack
she
Stewart.
Jax gets ratchet when she gets in her car. Woo, that girl was spitting fire. Raw lyrics. She could be the third city girl. Wow. So it's a really interesting take. Kerry Washington produces this.
Mhm.
Larry Wilmore, the great Larry Wilmore, who helped Issa Rae develop Insecure on HBO. He's also part of this project. This is coming out of Onyx. Onyx is a division of Disney, which is devoted to projects with people of color. We've
Mhm.
seen a couple of things, and we reviewed a couple of things from Aftermath, Val the Voice, here on Interludes Talk on Tuesday,
Mhm.
including a movie documentary they did about African American women in childbirth. That was
Mhm.
from Onyx.
Right.
Onyx
Right.
also had another major project that we have talked about here. So just seeing, Sean Patrick Thomas there, and he's also in Till, you
He's
know,
also in Till, right?
he's also in another pretty big Chicago movie from many, many years ago, right? With that
Oh,
swerve.
that
With
would be
Kerry
Save the Last.
Washington.
That would be Save the Last Dance. So guys, I'll just go. This will be my last word on it. Hey, Reasonable Doubt is for the grown folks. It is not for the children. Not for the children.
Woo, woo,
So
Val. I knew. That's why I was so distracted.
I will get the actress's name correct by
Val
next
had me
week.
watching this to y'all before I came on, and I'm still very, very
Okay.
woo.
Oh, and of course, everyone remembers Sean Patrick Thomas from Barbershop. Thank you so much, Kevin. I definitely remember that. Oh my gosh. Well,
Woo,
now
yeah, but that
it's time. It's time for the coach. Woo!
Coach, you got to check out this Reasonable Doubt, man. You could watch that thing with the sound on or off, maybe
What in the
between the
Now,
world?
game or something.
I'll watch it in silence, throw that Jay-Z track on because that was the best album he ever made was Reasonable Doubt album. For all the
Woo.
young cats that don't know, you never heard that Reasonable Doubt album, you need to go get it.
And you hear some of it in the show. You hear some of that, some older and new Jay-Z throughout the show. That's part of the soundtrack. The soundtrack also is bad because Ali Shaykh
Yes.
Muhammad takes the
Mm.
lead in all the background music you hear.
Mhm. The opening
It's nice.
track.
The music is nice. Yeah, he wrote that song with Ladybug Mecca from back from Digital
Mhm.
Planets. So there's like
Oh, okay.
smooth music throughout the whole
Oh,
show. It
I had to
exceeds
come.
on many different levels.
That's dope. I'm about to check that out. I haven't seen that yet. Had to come on my
Hulu.
dripped out. Had to come dripped out tonight, man. While you see that
Yeah, I see.
Bulls logo, man. Had to come. It's NBA
see.
time, baby.
I see.
Oh,
I see. This is a busy sports night, huh?
Hey,
We
I
got
don't know.
playoff games.
I
Man.
don't know if we're gonna be able to get all this in because I'm like a sponge, man. You just put water on me, squeeze it out, and I'm still dripping, man. Still dripping.
Well, I'm gonna try to get to as many different things as possible. So I'll throw it to you, Coach, and then we'll see. We'll have you
That's
take it on, right?
Oh, that's cool. Let's check this out. Here's the funny part about it, man. We're gonna ride this wave just like man, you in Hawaii and California on the surfboard and Val on the beach, right? We're gonna do it like that.
Wow.
Hey,
okay.
hey, first of all, you got to give it up to the Yankees. They just won today. Winner
Okay.
take all. Game 5 of the ALCS and move
Yeah.
on to play the Stros. And it's the number 1 versus number 2 team in the American League that will
Yep.
go for it. But for promotional purposes only,
Here we
the
Okay.
go.
wild cards is sitting in the National with the Padres and the Phillies, and the Phillies is up tonight. So I think it's going to be a good series. Although I like the Padres, I really think Philly is going to upset them,
Okay.
and
All
I
right.
think you're going to have. And I love what Aaron Judge has did, but I
Yeah.
think the Astros. I got a Phillies and the Astros World Series with the Astros winning it all.
Wow. Coach, I don't know if I could take the Astros going back to the World Series. I mean,
Wait a
that might kill me. Uh coach, speaking of a dead man walking, Daniel Snyder, the Washington Commanders, the guy that said he'd never change the name of that team, had to change the name of the team. He said he'd never leave. And now other owners are talking about, well, there's merit for him to leave. Coach, how much time he got as the owner of the Washington Commanders?
Hold on,
TikTok,
let me check my watch real quick. Hold on,
TikTok.
it's ticking kind of loud, man. I'm mad to go
It's
get a
pretty
service
loud.
this week.
Yeah. I remember when Scarver wasn't gonna sell his team too in the NBA, right?
Exactly, and you saw what happened to that, right? They came walking like the
Oh,
big dogs, put him
oh,
out, man. And speaking of the NBA thing, if everyone on this call got to subscribe, first of all, push that button because we jumping these numbers up. But if you haven't seen, and I know some of these guys on here not a quote unquote LeBron guy. I know Val talked about LeBron and different things. We talk about LeBron and Lakers, but you got to love this brother's philanthropist. On the court, totally different. I'm always going to be a Bull to the day I roll out, and I'm always
yes,
going to be a Jordan guy to the day I roll out. But in terms of what LeBron does, I love it. He got his
okay,
son, Lil Bronny, the biggest deal in high school basketball this past weekend, signed to a multi-year Nike deal. And then his homeboy, Doc,
NIL deals, yes,
Dr. Dre came and hooked him up as the brand new ambassador for Beats, which LeBron was the ambassador. So he's just basically passing the torch. Now, the catch to all this, Mike and Val, is that there's an undisclosed amount. So from my sources that I know, told me that undisclosed is roughly around $10 to $12 million. But the
nice.
crazy part about it is this NIL business, and of course we talked about that, Val. We talked about it, Mike, early on, and now. Although it's in all 50 states in terms of college, it's only in 27 states in terms of high school.
Okay,
So, like, for example, as big as Chicago is, Illinois does not have the NIL opportunity for its high school kids, but smaller states do.
right,
So I think in the next year or
yeah.
so, you're going to see everything on both sides of the ball.
Let me ask a different question. I'm gonna throw you a slight curveball here, Coach. So let's hypothetically, if this NIL situation had been around, NIL meaning that high school in some states and college in more states can get endorsement deals, even though they are technically still amateur athletes and eligible for scholarships at their institutions. If this NIL situation had been around when LeBron was in high school coming out, do you think he would have played college ball?
I think LeBron was one of those talents, man, that, that award. And here's how you answer that question. It has nothing to do with NIL. When LeBron's situation was, it was an NBA because the NBA still had the opportunity for kids to jump to the league, right?
Right.
So in his situation, he probably would have left the NIL on the table, not knowing, and then went on to the league. But if he'd have known how much money he could have made, yeah, he'd definitely want to play for Ohio State for at least 1 year and made that money, and then jump to the league.
See, I'm leaning toward that too. I think that I mean, not to say that he has any regrets. I doubt that man has any regrets. However, I do think that that's the one thing that he didn't get to do was to play in college. And even someone like Carmelo Anthony had that opportunity, took advantage of the opportunity, and oh, by the way, got a ring out of it. So
correct, and it was a whole different ball game, and that's why I think he is pushing Bronny, little Bronny. He's pushed him so hard to play the year of college experience because at the end of the day, little Bronny is not as good as dad, obviously, but he's still good. So he's been Bronny's biggest salesman, right? So no one's going to be able to sell their son like the dad or the mom. And he's been that dad that's been out front. So he's basically said, oh, by the way, Val, I know you're the general manager of such and such team, but my son's going to play for you in 2 years. Well, this was 2 years ago before he was even ranked in the top 300. So when you see in that, he's basically telling these owners, you're going to take my son in such and such year. And oh, by the way, I'm going to play with him. So if you take him, then your revenue stream is going to go through the roof because everybody's going to tune in.
Right.
Speaking of dads who have an outsized stake in their son's future, one coach Prime, Deion Sanders, was on TV this past week. He was on 60 Minutes. And I know some of y'all are either too young or too old to watch 60 Minutes, but I caught part of it. Coach Prime was on there, Coach Tony. He was on there, and the provocative question that came out of that whole interview, what Deion said was this. They asked him, would you entertain jumping to a Power 5 school, a Power 5 conference? And he said, I'd have to entertain it. I'd have to entertain an offer.
I'm telling you right now, I spent 9 years at an HBCU, and I'm now 10 years at a PWI. Okay. And so I understand it because, unfortunately, if you go back and listen to the interview, Mike, most people capture that question. Yes. But what they didn't get was the day that it rains a little hard outside, they got to go borrow a high school field. The day that the track and field team want to practice, they can't because they got holes in the track and they scared to twist an ankle. The day that they want to go lift weights, they can't because they had a situation with no air conditioner, in the weight room. The day that they wanted to get some players back in the shape, they can't because their pool is just a basic pool, right? And then to top it off, he gets to practice, and what happens, Mike? Nobody even mowed the grass. My man brought his own lawnmower. Now, Val, I don't know about you.
Okay.
Would you come in Interludes and they ain't mowed the grass or shovel the snow outside, you go out there and do it?
No.
That's my role. I would mow the lawn. So
that's right.
So Bruce,
I got the snow. You get to
what did Bruce say? What did Bruce say?
So Bruce says Prime is definitely swag. Well, that's not what Prime said. Now, Prime said he was definitely swag when it came to the handshake and that whole kerfuffle. However, when they asked him, would you entertain an offer from a Power 5 school, he said, I'd have to entertain it.
But I told you that a few weeks ago, Mike.
Coaches, but is that a contradiction? Because he got called out. He got called out by another coach. He thought he was just doing a friendly handshake, and he went to embrace the guy. And he said, "No, we don't do that. We don't do that here, and you're not swag." And then Deion had to come back and try to say, "If I'm not swag, then who is?" However, national interview, I'd have to entertain it.
I think you look at it like this, man. And here's how I wrap that situation up. He ended up signing a kid that's a lineman that was going #1 overall, first time in the history that JSU got one. Kid didn't have to go. And where was the kid headed? To Florida State. Oh. So as he said, he came and sat in his kid's house. The kid needed to talk. He was signed to Florida State. And the kid asked him one question: "Why didn't you play at HBCU since you're trying to get me to come there?" And Dion said, "They never offered me a scholarship. They never knocked on my door. So therefore, I took the best opportunity I did." So what I'm trying to tell you, son, is I played where you're getting an offer to go. So I
Free
don't want you to
Shoes
go down
University.
there. Let's come to JSU. You that good? Let's come here and let's make a difference and see what it's like. And that's what the young man did.
But I can what we both are able to say this very clear fact, right, Coach Tony, is that kids signing to Jackson State University aren't signing because they have some great love of Jackson State University. Okay,
They're signing because of the coach.
They signed because of the coach,
right?
Yeah,
right. I mean,
yeah.
he is a factor in and of himself, and I gotta say this. And I think I'm right. You tell me if I'm wrong, Coach, if I'm stepping out too far. Even the great Nick Saban, even the all-powerful Nick Saban, except for this last Saturday, right? Rocky Top took that.
So we're to
They took that. But even the great and all-powerful Nick Saban, if and when he does leave Alabama gonna still be Alabama, won't it? You think, people are not going to go to Alabama to play football?
Sure,
they don't go. Sure enough, right?
Yeah.
But when Coach Prime leaves Jackson State, what we got?
Hey, first of all, I forgot our guest, Val. You had on, was it? It slips of you, but we had a guest on. Oh, the gentleman that we had on with the golf said it best the day we had him on.
Oh, Mr. Jim Beatty.
Mr. Jim.
Jim.
Unfortunately, when it comes to PWIs and the money thing, they're going to go because that's just what they do. And unfortunately for us at HBCUs, our loyalty usually lies in the legacy, right? So that's how majority of our kids and families and nieces and nephews go to the Howards of the world, Bethune-Cookmans, the Clark Atlantas, the Morehouses, because Val was my auntie. She went there and she spoke so highly of it. I never knew about it. I went down to check out Atlanta. I'm already watching Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I'm already watching Tyler Perry, right? So I'm like, man, I'm cool. I'm going to get in Atlanta. Let me check that out. Then I go down there and find out Atlanta is damn near like Chicago on a smaller scale. Then I'm good. So I think what you see is I'm in that situation, right? I'm looking for that big D1 contract. I love where I'm at, but if you or Val was a conference commissioner or an AD that called me and said, "Hey, Coach Tony, I want to offer you a multi-year opportunity to leave where you at," I got to entertain that. Just for the simple fact that if I didn't, it ain't to say that I don't like Jackson State. I don't like my HBCU. It's just said that I've came here and I've done the work that I've been put forward. And now I got us going in the right direction. So if I trust my assistants, and if they can't take the blueprint and keep it moving, I'm sorry. I got to make this next move what's right for me and my family.
Who's the Notre Dame coach right now? Marcus somebody, right? Marcus
Freeman.
Marcus
Freeman.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But here's the deal. Marcus Freeman is at Notre Dame. Notre Dame football needs nothing, right? That is just push button, go in, TV contract, done. Don't even have to have a conference. Get ranked in the top 25 no matter who you bring in, right? Because you are Notre Dame. Right? However, Coach, you got to win there. Now, if you go look into our HBCUs, you have coaches, like the great Eddie Robinson. You have some of these wonderful coaches there. They didn't win every year, but they built their program and they built in loyalty and they made that school. So I think in some way, I mean, I don't think Deion Sanders is wanting for money.
Here's the difference.
But he could make a legacy. He could build his own legacy there at Jackson State. So that the name Jackson State becomes synonymous with Coach Prime. Oh, Coach Prime.
He's already done that. Here's the point of the whole interview. I think that I don't think that the turning tipping point was about asking him if he would go if the money was offered. To me, the tipping point was the actual SWAC commissioner who said, yeah, I had Mike, I had Val, I had Coach Tony, I had this guy and that guy. They all great. but they never brought a Walmart to the table. They never brought Target to the table. They never brought these billionaires to the table who are now giving these HBCUs the money to build the facilities, make the facilities better.
But do they stay when he leaves? So in other words, you have coach, you have some coaches that get to that level where they set up their own coaching tree, where when they leave or when their guys leave, they go somewhere and they develop the system that they learned and they implement that system. Hey, the Giants are like 5-1 right now because they're going through that Buffalo Bills coaching tree, which apparently is stronger than the Patriots coaching system. The results show it. So, I mean, if and when he leaves Jackson State, is Jackson State better for it? Will they be able to maintain?
No, I don't think that you'll see another Coach Prime doing the things he's doing because I don't think he's there, in my opinion. And, of course, we've had on my cousin, Coach Dr. Derek, who's right in the ear of everything. I think that Coach Prime has been right for Jackson State at the right time. And I think, because of the situation happened with the water, because the situation happened with the floods, the storms, the tornado, and what he's done, he has built what you ask most coaches to do. So if those questions that you got, if you can go to Birmingham or Tuscaloosa and ask how many bottles of water has Nick Saban gave out in the community, right? How many doors has he knocked on, helped these people out? How many times has he done this and that? That's a whole different. We different at our HBCU than PWI. So in terms of
of course, because I can answer the question this. I know who the highest paid public employee in the state of Alabama is. You just said it. It's Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the highest paid public employee in the state of Alabama. And
but will Jackson State be okay? Will Jackson State be okay? Sure. But I said, will Jackson State be okay? Sure. Because at every stage, whether it's high school, college, pros, eventually that coach has got to move on. And you're either going to be ready or you're not going to be ready. And I think that he has built the school and set the school up for success. It's like if me, you, and Val, as we blowing up Interludes, we make this $1 billion corporation and you bring your son in. If you hand the business over to your son and then he, mucks it up, that's on him.
All right, Coach.
Speaking of schools that have set themselves up for success, just to kind of wrap this up and close this out, preseason number ones have been announced in the D1 basketball. So I got a right around for you. There's the men's team that's the preseason number one, and the women's team preseason number one. On the men's side, it is the University of North Carolina. The Tar Heels have been rated as the number one school going into the season. Games unplayed. So if it holds, that would be the team that takes home the championship in early April. On the women's side, it is the University of South Carolina with a coach that I know you have great admiration for. Her team is ranked number one on the women's side. Do you agree with that? Is that right?
They got it right. They got it, for promotional purposes only. Head out to FanDuel or wherever you want to go because they got it right. They got it right 100%. Carolina is definitely by far right now the number one ranked team in the country based on the talent, based on what Hubert has been able to do. I've seen Hubert out this summer. I've had an opportunity to talk to Coach in Indiana. I had a chance to talk to him again in Chicago, seen some of the recruits he's picked up. And of course, Don Staley is Don Staley. You can't take none away. But speaking of that, before we get too far, we're supposed to have our NBA breakdown tonight. Let's jump in this before we close out.
Do it now. Let's go.
I know most of the people have asked me about this and all that. Your boys, the Golden State Warriors,
the champions, get their rings.
I don't think they're going to do it this year. I think that at some point, I love the Golden State Warriors, but I think at some point the fiasco with Draymond Green is going to blow up because Jordan Poole just signed that new contract. And I think at some point throughout the year, they're going to have a breakdown, and there's hoping Clay can stay put. I think that there are 5 teams they got right now with the possibility of winning, which is Golden State, the Celtics, the Nets, Clippers, and the Bucks. I really think in the West, you're talking about the West versus the East. I think in the West, you got Golden State as the favorite, but I think that with a healthy John Morant, take the over on the Ja Morant. I think the either the Clippers or the Grizzlies take over Golden State and come out, and I think the Celtics go back again this year from the East.
Okay.
So the Celtics, they anybody could coach that team pretty much then, because I know they don't have their coach, not the coach last year.
They just locked down Coach Maddox, which was the head associate last year. They winning tonight. They beating up on Philly tonight by 12 right now in home opener and season opener.
Yes,
and so
they're excited. Al Horford, I see. Yeah,
exactly. So they're doing their thing there. And then in terms of what I think how the league is going to go this year, I think our guy we talked to, Noah's best friend, I think he will win the Rookie of the Year, and Paolo Banchero out of Orlando. I think he's hands down Defensive Player of the Year. You may or may not like it.
Definitely.
I like Mikal Bridges coming out of Phoenix Suns, with a possibility of Marcus Smart from Boston Celtics as a close second right there. Even though Phoenix may not have a good team. Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive player. Okay. All right.
And then Most Improved Player. You're going to go crazy on this one.
Who's this?
R.J. Barrett, coming from the New York Knicks. I think we're getting Jalen Brunson, Mr. Chicago guy, going to New York. Jalen was R.J. was in that about 22, 23-point range average. I think with Jalen Brunson coming in now and being able to put him out the way he's doing, being able to get a true ball handler to get him the ball a lot, I think you're going to see R.J. So take him on FanDuel, R.J. Barrett, Most Improved Player this year.
So everything Coach has said is probably good for you for entertainment purposes only. But I will just say this. What's that?
The last two things I want to give you is the last two things: the scoring leader and the MVP. They're going to mismatch, and this is going to blow your mind. But even though this team will not win the championship, I'm going to give the scoring leader and the MVP for the year is going to go to Dallas Mavericks and the Luka Doncic.
I can see that
Dallas
for sure.
Mavericks. I think he's in shape. He's killing them right now overseas. He's just coming back. And this year, Mike, as opposed to last year, he's coming into the season this year in shape. And that's what's going to make a difference. Here's the funny part about him being overseas, because I know we don't get an opportunity to watch a lot of international basketball.
Right.
But there's a kid over there, and he's the number one prospect that will be coming to
that kid. I've heard of him. My students are telling me about this.
Victor Benwamyu. You better remember.
7'4". Alien.
7'4". And they said he's the Kevin Durant on offense, and he's the Joel Embiid and Rudy Gobert on defense.
Well, there's a picture of him online standing next to Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert looks like Spud Webb next to him. It's ridiculous.
Looking up at him.
He's looking up at him.
And Val just showed his picture a moment ago. The kid is off the charts. Right now, everybody in college or / high school or the G League, they're looking for the number 2 and beyond, because the number 1 pick is wrapped up right now already.
Yeah, absolutely. It's him. They affectionately call him the alien, because his height, his wingspan is just off the charts, and his skill. The coach, he shoots threes.
And he can handle the ball. He's not only shooting threes, he can put the ball on the floor. And then, you got 7'4" around the rim, shot blocking, making sure nothing's getting in. Come on, Mike.
But here's the thing, Coach, and as we wrap this up, the funny thing is, no matter how the season wraps up at the end of the year,
right there.
You know he's going to. There are only 2 teams that he could possibly go to, and one of them is the aforementioned Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban is salivating over this kid. He's probably got this kid next to his bed at night, thinking like, one day. Cuban wants him. You know he does.
Yep. It ain't going.
The only other place I can see them going is in the Garden, because if that kid goes to if that kid goes to New York, he changes the NBA, because he puts New York back on the map.
But that ain't as well as I know, that's not how draft picks happen.
The NBA wants to be back in New York in a big way, and as nice as the Nets are, that ain't like the Knicks. Boy,
the only way that kid ends up in New York is if he gets traded. If he gets traded, That kid, there's only two teams right now that this kid's going to. He's either going to go to the San Antonio Spurs to Popovich, who'll probably be in last place, or he'll probably end up, if he don't go there, he'll probably end up in Utah, who just dumped everybody. But this kid, he will go to one of those teams. He will not be with at the number one draft pick.
Val, make sure this is recorded. Make sure that we get back to this. Because here, I have no doubt when Coach Tony tells me what team's going to win, I seldom doubt him. I didn't have anything to say about his predictions for the NBA. I'm talking now about politics and money. The NBA will find a way to get that kid in New York, just like Coach, the NFL found a way to get Eli Manning in New York and get some championships there. New York champions make more money for their leagues. Val, the whole city of New York going crazy over a team. What's that like? What's that like?
I have seen it up close and personal, and it has been extremely excitedly crazy.
And I love Val being in New York, and I love what you say. But you put the Knicks championships up against San Antonio, and what you get?
I'm not talking about numbers, Coach. I'm talking about money.
Money.
The one team, the next time the New York Knicks win the championship, the next time, that team, you'll never hear the end of. Michael Strahan has a career, Coach. What did he do? He had one good year where he got a championship.
2007.
And I can't get him off my TV. I can't get the man off my TV.
That's your boy favorite line, Nick Saban. He said, every time these kids sit here, they moan and groan and complain about they didn't get no playing time. He said, this is Alabama, baby. All you need is one good year. Right?
One good year. I can't get Michael Strahan off my TV. And he had one good year with a New York team. Coach, if he had that year anywhere else in the NFL, he would not be as well known as he is.
I want you to cut this out, Val.
Break it up.
I want you to cut it out, put it on a big basketball poster. I want you to stick this on your wall. I want you to put a pen in it and come.
I'll get a fat hand. I'll put the fat hand on my wall.
I'm going to tell you, when this draft pick happens, we're going to be back online talking about this.
Okay.
Coach Adam Silver is a lawyer. He will find a way to get that money in out of that New York money. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
And on that note, Coach, for promotional purposes only.
All right. Yeah, Coach got you all winners. I'm just telling you where the biggest impact the NBA is going to be in New York. They're going to find a way. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got 2 words for you, Coach. Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing.
I got 2 words for you too, babe. Chi-town. That's where the Knicks come up is. So I know you like the Knicks, but he got a better chance coming with Donovan than playing for the Bulls.
I wish.
Only because of the pace.
I wish.
But Mike, I love y'all, baby. We got to do this the way we got to do this. You know that.
All right.
And you know what you usually say? What do you usually say, Coach?
Hey, and I'm out.
Peace. All right. All right, Coach Tony gave you all the winners.
Breaking up fights. I'm not used to that.
It's not no fight. And when the Warriors win the next championship this year, you'll realize that, as that saying goes, that the greatest deodorant is winning.
The greatest deodorant is winning?
If you got problems, if you got funk there, and there's funk between Poole and Draymond Green, but when they go on a 22-2 winning streak,
oh gosh,
they'll be best of friends. Or at least great associates.
Thank you so much for putting that in the chat, Kevin. I appreciate you. Well, we are going to officially chit chat. The podcast is going to be about the Chicago International Film Festival. And this was one of the films I got a chance to see called Rounding.
You met the actor and director and everybody.
The actor and director, Nasir Thompson. And Alex Thompson is the director. And it was shot here in a local town outside of Chicago. During COVID, they had no COVID cases, but the Chicago International Film Festival is currently happening right now during this week. Those are all the principal actors of that particular film, but I wanted to just show that because Till was also a premiere during the Chicago International Film Festival as well. So this is our lane. We love movies. We
And a lot of
we
these
collect
movies
that.
are going to be coming to cineplexes and virtual
Mhm.
streaming platforms near you over the next couple of months. We got a chance to check out some of them and
Mhm.
let you know about some of them through this International Film Festival. So we bring you some information that you probably won't find anywhere else. You can check that
Exactly.
on
So
the audio version of our show.
exactly. And now, what are we going to be talking about tomorrow with Mr. Wamble? What are we going to talk about tomorrow, Mr. Wamble?
Woo, woo. I believe tomorrow we will talk about social media. It may or may not touch upon the guy that was born in Atlanta that calls Chicago home. You might get to
Mhm.
him a little bit, but not too much time on that. Want to get to that, and probably I may mention a international film or two. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about social media tomorrow. So hope you're there to join us. We'll have a good time and a special guest.
Oh, there you go. I love it. I love it. So, we wanted to let you guys know, Interludes, we are currently celebrating 100 episodes of excellence. And you can join us every single Tuesday on our YouTube channel, our Facebook private group fan base, and under the Pure
Livingston. Yep.
Lighthouse Media. And
Mhm.
we're also available on Pod TV, the Roku channel. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you for if you want to become a sponsor on our platform, book time with us at linktr.ee/pure light media. We'll be back next week to chit chat about some more stuff. I will have the pronunciation of lead actresses better rehearsed because they were not rehearsed before I got on. I'm so sad about that. And what's your name, Michael?
You making me think about her some more. Couldn't. Lord. I don't know what my name is, but yours is Val the Voice Johnson, and this has been Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday with Val the Voice Johnson and Coach Tony. So,
We
peace.
out. Peace.